Jess and I are going away for our anniversary this weekend. And we go to the same place in Vermont where we got married every year. Well, it's not Stoke. We actually got married in Ludlow, Okemo, Vermont.
Right.
Like the Okemo Mountain, Ludlow, Vermont.
Yep.
So we got married there, and our favorite restaurant in town, they only have a few reservations available a month, and they release them all at midnight on the first of the month.
Is this Hen of the Woods?
No, it's not. That's actually
really
closer to
good.
Stoke. That's really good. But this is called Downtown Grocery.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I have to, or Jess and I will both either set an alarm to wake up at like 11:55, or as I chose to do last night and Jess did as well, just stay up.
Yeah.
Right. So we're up and you have to be very, very quick.
Yeah.
So we both have our phones open, and she's like trying to get the Friday reservation. I'm trying to get the Saturday reservation. They're gone in minutes. Just like everything is totally gone. It's just a small little restaurant in Ludlow, Vermont, and nobody knows about it except for the people who know about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And October probably too. Is
foliage
That's peak
season.
foliage.
Yeah.
Everyone's there.
And what's cool about this restaurant is it's just a husband and wife team. The husband's in the kitchen, the wife runs the front of the house and serves and does the cocktails and everything. So it's like
I love that.
you go and you're at their house for like 3 hours.
Wow.
And it's like multiple courses, and it's really, really great. So the problem is that at the same time, Michaela has started middle school and gets up even earlier in the morning. So now, like, I'm going to bed after midnight. I'm waking up at 6, and it's just exhausting. So I'm a little tired today, and I apologize. Jess is like, why did you schedule this coffee at 8 a.m. and this podcast at 9:15 and then this other meeting at 11? I'm like, well, you're right.
Yeah, you're getting it all done in the morning. You know? Yeah, you'll be wrapped up.
Yeah. But so we're telling Michaela that we're reminding her that we're a little bit tired. Go easy on us with your teenager attitude this morning.
How'd that go?
Did she plan a sleepover?
She's like, well, she said, why are you tired? And we tell her, she's like, well, why didn't you just hire a bot to do this? And I was like, what?
Oh my God.
So this was actually a seminal moment in the Crowley household today, because this is the first time my daughter said something technologically. I know what a bot is, but I wouldn't know where to start. Like, I have no idea. This is the first time she does things that I don't know how to do all the time, but I could figure those things out.
She's caught up to you in the race.
She has surpassed me. This is like, I would never have thought to have a bot try to make this reservation. I wouldn't trust a bot to do it. But also, I don't know how to do that. And my daughter, like, does she know how to do it?
Do you know how to set up a bot?
Well, I mean, I have built a custom GPT.
There you go.
But I don't know that it would be sophisticated enough to automate a very precious.
Yes.
That's where the human in the loop is needed when there is a very, very precious thing on the line, right?
We talk about finances being precious, but I would say dinner reservations are even ahead of that.
This is a once a year thing. It can happen.
I would be remiss to say that my dinner reservations are very important to me.
Yes.
You know?
Well, especially when it's at a spot like that's so it holds so much value to you and your family. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny though.
I know. Yeah. It scares me. And then today on the car ride to the bus stop, because we have to drive to the bus stop, she was, getting her text was like, her phone was blowing up with text, and then she's like, everybody I know is on social media, and I'm like,
why don't you just silence it?
This is just, it's hard. It's so much harder now, and you're at the early stages of parenthood, but I know that you know a lot of moms and dads, and it's just different raising a kid now.
Yeah, it's hard to hold a boundary, right? When there's so many other people that are not holding that boundary around you.
Yes.
And I think that's the hardest part. I think you've talked about boundaries on the show before, and it's not really setting it, because oftentimes you're setting that from a place that is very values driven. Mm-hmm. It's the repercussion, right? The pressures that you receive from others.
Absolutely.
When setting the boundary that makes it so hard.
Pressures and judgment and
your community.
Really why?
Yeah.
And I'll be just as bad. I'll have our best friends, and they started showing their kids, they were going to watch all the Star Wars movies. And I'm like, do you remember, have you seen all the Star Wars movies?
No.
Okay. Colin?
Big fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tori? No? Okay.
You can talk to me
I'm going to
about it.
spoil the second or the third movie. The third
Episode 3?
Episode 3.
Okay, got it.
There's literally just like a massacre of children in this movie.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's not super kid friendly.
it's not. And I'm like,
It's a very dark movie.
And it's so I get it. I'm like, so when they first did that was like 3 years ago, and their kids were like 6 and 7 or 6 and 8, something like that. And I was like, I don't know. That's like a lot to like. There's all these other kid movies that they could go with, but now his daughter is watching Alien and Jaws.
Oh no! Wow, that's
like,
bold.
Wow, man. And I will sit there. I'll be like, oh, I can't believe you showed me. And I like pass the judgment, and then like when I receive the judgment from people, I'm like, why are you judging me?
I know. We're human, right?
I know.
Yeah, no one's perfect, I guess.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Compound Growth Podcast with Colin and Wheeler, where we talk all things growth, from financial growth to career growth, personal development to societal progress. We explore how each layer builds on the next, compounding over time to shape who we become. Each week, we break down complex ideas and emerging trends into clear, actionable insights. Because growth isn't just about numbers, it's about understanding the world and our place in it. The information in this material is for general information only, and is not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Investment advice offered through Integrated Partners, doing business as Ko-Fi Advisors LLC, a registered investment advisor. Integrated Partners does not provide legal, tax, mortgage, advice, or services. Please consult your legal tax advisor regarding your specific situation. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. The economic forecasts set forth in this material may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that the strategies promoted will be successful. We have a special guest with us today, Tara
Yes.
Ryan. Tara, I'm going to read you a bio and stare at you while I do it.
Perfect.
Well, Colin's going to stare at you. I'm going to be looking at the paper.
Yes.
So Tara Ryan is the co-founder and CEO of Confidant,
Yes.
an AI-driven platform supporting mothers as they navigate the invisible weight of modern motherhood. Executive coach and certified fair play facilitator, which I'd kind of like to talk a little bit about fair play today. She's dedicated thousands of hours to helping professionals overcome challenges such as parental leave, workplace bias, and various other career hurdles before founding her coaching practice,
Infinity. Yep.
Tara spent more than a decade in the software and technology industry, where she honed the skills that fueled her entrepreneurial spirit and passion for empowering others to reach their full potential. So, Tara Ryan,
How was that?
It was great.
welcome to the Compound
right.
Growth Podcast.
Yes, thank you
Yes.
for having me. This is awesome. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you.
Yes.
So
Where
we did
should
a-
we start?
Yeah, we did a little research,
Okay.
Yep.
but obviously you're here because you're the expert. It's your product. We want to just kind of start a little bit about what is Confidant. What are you trying to achieve? Where are you? Where are you going? Just tell us a little bit about it.
And why you created it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why is always good. Start with why.
Okay. So I'll just start with the big vision and then I'll go into the why. The big vision is mother-centered AI. So I know there's some talk about like human-centered AI. It's very aligned with that, but really with the mom at the center. And the why behind that is because I have spent the last almost 5 years immersed in motherhood, both as becoming a mother myself and then also supporting a lot of moms who are in the paid workforce, many of them in heavily male-dominated career spaces, navigating very demanding careers, leading sales teams, leading finance teams, and juggling motherhood at the same time, and how challenging that can be, especially when they have leaders that maybe are not necessarily having to take on those same responsibilities. And so when I started my coaching practice, I was not a mom. I was going through actually infertility, which my husband and I went through a 2-year plus journey, several rounds of IVF, and we had our beautiful daughter through IVF, and now we're pregnant again through IVF. So Love IVF.
Big fans of IVF.
Big fans. Science, IVF, all the
This
things.
is not a sponsored IVF episode,
yes.
but we do love it.
We do love it. And so I was hearing all of these stories at first, but not experiencing them myself. And I got really, really curious around like, why does it seem like there's so many barriers here? What are the big themes that are coming up that seem to be holding women back in the workforce? Yeah. And one of the big ones was this gendered division of unpaid labor that they were taking on inside of the home. So the domestic labor, the emotional labor, we can talk about all these because we have language for the different types of labor now, cognitive labor, and childcare responsibilities. And that was making it really, really hard for them to show up inside of their career in the way that they wanted to in order to like reach the goals that they wanted to. And then the other was just, having leaders that didn't necessarily provide them with the support and flexibility that they needed. And so I was like, okay, I got to get super curious about all of these things. And that's what led me to the Fair Play method, which is actually a method that helps address the gender division of unpaid labor. And then, fast forward, I was like, hey, my clients kept coming to me and being like, I wish you were always available to me, and they text me at all hours. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I be there for them and also be there for myself and not, have these boundaries in place. And AI was just starting to become more accessible. And a friend of mine and I were like, well, what if we created a custom GPT? Like, what if we just kind of trained it with the best practices that you tend to use in your coaching and give it to them in between sessions and see what happens? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. And so we did. We gave it to them and they were like, this is amazing. Like, how are you here in technology form?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, but we did, we did it. So that was kind of the spark, using AI to help people make values-based decisions, using AI to help them advocate for themselves, and to learn about themselves.
Can you walk our audience through what a GPT is?
Yes, I can. So one of them being ChatGPT. And all of us, have the ability to go into ChatGPT and take the foundation of it and almost like clone it and then train it a very specific way to build a custom GPT. Cool. So it's sitting on the large language model that exists today, like ChatGPT. It's sitting on that as the base. Yeah. But then you go in and it's actually very friendly to non-technical people. There's a back end that you just kind of prompt it with how you want it to act and behave and show up for the people that access it. And for me, it was like coaching best practices, like values orientation, values-based decision-making, self-advocacy, like kind of put all of these things that I do with my clients in sessions. You can train it, you can fine-tune it with like specific scripts that you may want it to use. Load all of that in there, and then you give it to people to start using. And as they use it, it gets even stronger, actually, because then their data that they're feeding into it trains it to it's so interesting.
It's really
so
amazing. Yeah. So it's a customized tool, but built on existing technology. So you don't have to start from ground zero.
Correct.
And at the same time, it's still a learning tool because it's still AI and it's still, so you get to have both a community kind of like connection to it and then also your personal brand as a part of it, because your clientele are telling the AI what they want to know, what they want to talk about, what their concerns are, et cetera. Yes. And then you have your experience and knowledge base and you can lean on that to address those concerns. That's really fascinating. And I'm going to ask maybe a loaded question. How do you handle the privacy aspect of that?
So that was one of the limitations. So when that was kind of our prototype. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was going to be a a tool for my clients, right? I'm like, okay, this is just an additional thing that you can leverage so that I can kind of create the boundaries between us that are needed.
I need boundaries.
Right? And then when they started reacting in the way that they did to it and sending me screenshots of the way that it was supporting them, because another limitation of a custom GPT is you don't actually have access to the reporting and the data. So you don't know how many times they're using it or what they're putting into it. That's all owned by OpenAI. And so they would have to kind of actually send me screenshots of the interactions. And so I'm like, okay, this is really interesting, but it's very limited. Let me go out and do some customer development interviews and see where I wanted to focus on moms, where other moms are going to for support, like outside of my clients, you know? And so I spoke to 70 additional moms, and a lot of them, because moms are stretched so thin, they have on average less than an hour to themselves a day. In an ideal world, they would be working with a coach or a therapist on many of the topics that they want to talk through. They don't have access to it for a number of reasons: cost, time, etc. They're turning to like Facebook groups and Reddit threads, and ChatGPT now. And so I was like, okay, is that helpful? Do you like that? Is that where you want to go? No, it's not helpful. Oftentimes I feel more judged, attacked.
Especially the moms groups on Facebook.
Oh my gosh,
are
it's
just brutal.
Yeah. It is. And it's very biased, right? Like people are giving advice. I don't think it's ill-intentioned, but they're giving advice rooted in their lived experience, not necessarily helpful advice for somebody else.
Yeah, and if you come in a negative framework to those conversations, that's going to bleed through.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that informed us to be like, okay, we're on to something. Let's go and take this custom GPT to the next level. So we're not going to market with a custom GPT. We actually built our own custom LLM. It is the way that we've architected the back end of our app. The LLM, large language model, for those of you who don't know, there are a number of them. OpenAI is just one of them. It's interchangeable. Right now, we are using our baseline model is ChatGPT's 4.1 mini model. We can switch that out. We've chosen that because the responses we felt are best using that model today, but who knows, like we're always testing and changing and updating. And so to answer your security question, now that we own this, it's ours. There is end-to-end encryption. All of our user data is anonymized. And it's a very safe and secure place for this information.
It's something that we think about a lot in finance, is like just making sure that privacy, security,
and privacy is everything. And it's the same thing, because I'm sure a lot of people are putting a lot of personal problems into this.
Oh, totally. We actually, so our beta has been open for a month. Which is so exciting.
I actually played around with it last night.
Did you?
Yeah,
oh
it was
my gosh.
very good. Yeah,
okay,
I enjoyed it.
It's
one of your data points is now Colin.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
true. Yeah,
it's great.
Mr. Mom.
Yes, we've had over 3,000 messages come through.
Wow.
We have 103 moms registered using it right now, and we are keeping the beta controlled. We're still inviting people in, but we want to keep it controlled because we do want to keep that human in the loop, right? Like we are learning so much about the safety of AI, and there really are not a lot of regulations around it. And so monitoring it as a human being is very important, so that if the AI performs in a way that we don't feel is safe or ethically aligned, we have to go in and build a safety protocol or a guardrail in real time.
Something that I find absolutely fascinating about this is something like when you work with ChatGPT, you never exactly know what your output's going to be. And it's just basically going to be an amalgamation of data that it farms online for the most part. But with your custom setup, it's like you're building a person to respond with like a mission and vision and a set of morals and guidelines in a way. If you're kind of building a person, there has to be some aspect of like personality in there. How do you engineer that in? Like, where do you start?
Oh my gosh, it's it's actually like an art. It's more so. It's so interesting because my background, right, my degree is in communication and English.
Right.
And I've actually found that in the world of like prompt engineering, that is so helpful.
Yeah.
Because linguistics are everything, right? Like you actually have, the more detailed you can get around explaining and expressing how you want this thought to show up, the better. So it's a lot of testing. It's a lot of like, you are a very thoughtful coach and friend. Like it's going into all of the ways in which you want it to show up. And then my co-founder and I lean on AI to help us with the AI.
Right, of course.
So
much.
It's
like building itself.
My co-founder, I cannot take any of the credit. Ariel, she's incredible. She actually taught herself Cursor, which is a no-code app building tool, and built our entire front end of our app using Cursor.
Yeah.
We are non-technical.
Is she also a mom?
She is not a mom. She's an aspiring mom.
An aspiring mom.
But yeah, I think it's just remarkable what you can do.
Yeah, it's like for me, being in that situation, like if we were to build a financial advisory.
Here it comes.
Yeah, no, well, we shouldn't do that just yet. But anyway, like if we were to build one, I would think to myself, well, what qualities would we want to have in that AI response? And then how do we even communicate those to the prompt so that way it stays that way? And I just see that as being like a huge task, and that's impressive that you've done it.
Yeah.
We've done V1, like it's so, there's so much work to be done, right?
Yeah.
Because it's also what we're learning is the more specific, the more niche you can be, the better, because the AI, it's easier to direct it, right?
Sure.
Like it's like, so have you heard of RAG?
Nope.
Okay.
My daughter probably has.
Okay.
What is RAG?
Tori, do you know what RAG is? No, Tori doesn't know either.
So RAG is a huge component of what we have built. And so that is the back end piece that is allows you to upload the proprietary stuff. So you have to build out these data sets, these knowledge bases that the AI is pinging in order to surface your specific stuff. Right?
So it's kind of like a Venn diagram in a way.
There's two like major components that we are leveraging in our app. One is the system prompt, and that's kind of the rules. It's like, okay, this is how the AI always has to show up. It's got to be, this is the tone, these are the values, these are the safety protocols. Like that's always present.
That's kind of like when you get trained as a therapist, for example, like that's the same type of thing. It's learning how to do the job, right? And how to best show up for the job. And I guess theoretically always showing up consistently the best version of itself, which is pretty cool. Because it's hard, like on an everyday basis, to be like the best version of me as an advisor, or me as a dad, or me as whatever.
Yeah, when you're human, you're going to have your own emotions, and that might not be super helpful for the person sitting across from you. Yeah.
Totally. And one small tweak in the system prompt can make such a difference in how it responds.
Interesting.
It's wild. So then you have to go through all that testing, because you can only make one change at a time to see how it impacts everything. The other component is this RAG piece, which is the proprietary. It's like in the AI world, people will ask you like, well, what's your moat, right? Like, what's your differentiator between you and ChatGPT? Why wouldn't people just go to ChatGPT for this? Well, our moat is we're mother-centered AI. So our RAG is going to be mother-centered data, statistics, real-life experiences, best practices, things that moms care about, right? And we're seeing that the majority of our users, 60% of our users, are chatting in around topics like the mental load, boundaries, and partner relation, like
the fair play type stuff.
Yeah, the fair play type stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm saying, like, we will, what we, I think, are going to try to do is, based off of the data that we're getting, build out a really, really sophisticated rag around those topics. So you could come in and chat about anything, right? But we're really going to be the experts at first in those spaces, so that but then you've got to outline all these hypothetical situations and how you would want it to ideally respond.
Yeah.
It's
wild. But it must kind of feed upon itself and just
learns.
Repeat. Yeah, exactly. So and it doesn't sound to me like if one of your users, takes a picture of a plant, they should go try to put that into your AI, or if they are trying to think of good birthday gifts or whatever. It's maybe more focused onto maybe the mental health aspect of it, or just the
support.
Support. It's a helping tool. Right?
Correct. And that's where marketing comes into play, right? So it's guiding people around why you would turn to Confidant versus ChatGPT or Google or a friend.
Right.
And for us, it's really we've decided we want to be the values-based decision helper, the advocacy helper, boundary helper, validator of how hard motherhood is. We also want to be a place where we gently surface systemic barriers that are at play, that are oftentimes limiting women and mothers, that we internalize as our own problem, so that moms feel less isolated and alone. So that's our goal.
Yeah. I see, as this is getting built out and you're having more and more data coming in, the amount of information that you're going to have to perfect this product, because it's constantly being used in theory, is a lot to comb through in terms of data. But I mean, imagine the ability to fine tune this more, because it's technically kind of live and always evolving. That's amazing.
Yes. And we have to, we want to also give our users agency, right? So we have told them that in the beta, you're opting into us learning from you and learning from your data. I don't know that will always be true, right? We don't know that moms will always want their data to be fine-tuning our model, and that's okay.
Right.
Right? We've also been told, we're talking to some investors, and investors have been well, you're going to be sitting on this gold mine.
Yes.
Of
Sell your data, please.
And women, are the number one spenders in their household. How are you going to, and we're we're not.
Yeah.
That's not something that we are going to sell. I do see a world in which we allow moms to opt in to using their data to influence policy change or healthcare decisions, research data around women's health, but not to target them to buy a stroller.
Yeah, which stroller should they buy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not helpful. And I think that would disrupt your brand if that was the case.
Totally.
Yeah, trust is everything, especially as it comes to AI. You need to be able to trust AI. Jess and I have been talking about this a lot the last few days, because we were looking up trick-or-treating things in Portsmouth. We were what day is trick-or-treating on Portsmouth this year, because our daughter has friends all around the seacoast, and they can go to Portsmouth and trick-or-treat there. And Portsmouth usually does trick-or-treating not on Halloween.
Okay.
But so I looked it up, and it said, Portsmouth is going to have trick-or-treating on Wednesday, October 31st. This is the Google.
Yeah.
And I guess that's Gemini.
Yeah,
answer,
Gemini, yeah.
Right? And I look at it, I'm but Wednesday isn't October 31st. Right. Friday is October 31st. How does Google AI not know what the calendar is? And it seems like it's such a small little thing, but it's an error and a small thing. That means there's errors everywhere, right? So how do you navigate that? How do I navigate that just as a user? How do you navigate that as the CEO of a chat AI company?
Yeah, it's really hard, because so much of it is just making people aware that you can't trust the AI as truth, right? Yes, and choosing when and where you encourage people to come to your AI, right? If I was talking to someone and they were wanting that Halloween data, I would never say go to Confidant.
That's not what we're doing here.
Well, you can't even go to Google either.
Right? That's not the space to do this. I understand, and maybe in a world a future world, we will be, because I really do want it to be the space that solves all moms' questions and challenges eventually.
Moms want to know when trick-or-treating is.
Yeah, like parents in general, I see it like expanding to everyone. But I think it's hard because there's also not a lot of regulations in place around AI. And I think everybody's building and trying to solve these things in tandem. And so that's why that human in the loop piece is so important.
Yeah.
And Ariel and I are combing through all of the different questions asked and being like, okay, how do we, if something comes in that feels unsafe to us or feels unethical, how do we in the moment address this either in our RAG or in our systems prompt so that it is better next time? And it's not perfect. I have to hold ourselves accountable. We're learning every single day. But what I can say is that we are prioritizing safety and security and ethics. Whereas some, and I'm not trying to throw people under the bus, but like a lot being in this AI world, it's like scale and profitability are like, let's go. And, we have to, we're, like I said, we're having conversations with investors and they're like, what's your week over week growth? What's your week over week growth? And we're like, look, we are not focusing on that right now because we have to have a human in the loop for this. So yes, of course we want our community to grow. We want more people to be able to access this, but we want it to be safe first and foremost. And we can't do that if we have.
Yeah, for sure. Kaylee and I, when ChatGPT started to get a lot of traction last year, I'll say obviously it was big before that, but I'd say last year is when it really kind of blew up. When we first started using it, Kaylee was like, this thing sucks. The outputs are terrible and blah, 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 blah. And then we sat with an AI coach. And the AI coach was like, well, you have to frame out your question because your output is only going to be as good as your input.
Yes.
So he was like, frame it out in a way where you give it context, you assign it a role, you have it ask you questions, and then you do the task for what you want it to be. And the moment we started doing that, it started to give us better outputs. However, if I was going to come to it for something that I really needed or some sort of like any of the issues that you're addressing, I wouldn't know the role to assign it. Totally. And I couldn't think through what traits I would want it to respond to me with to make it feel effective. And me being in an emotional state going to ChatGPT is probably not the best time to be building out that framework.
Totally.
That's a good point.
I could absolutely see a case where there is Confidant and a bunch of other, I'll say, AI GPTs.
Something for dinner reservations.
For a dinner reservation or for someone that's struggling with workplace problems or that's struggling with mental health or that's struggling with whatever it might be and travel plans, like whatever. And as a normal user, you don't want to be the person that's programming that because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
You want an expert to program it.
Travel is a perfect example of that. Like, I don't know everything about Greece.
No.
Right.
I don't know anything about Greece, honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so true. And having different agents, I guess you would, like bots in there that are super niche and focused is a great strategy for that. So it's like different bots engaging with each other on the back end to figure out, which one is best suited for this
task.
Input task.
Yeah.
And so we're having conversations with other large motherhood communities and spaces and researchers to figure out like how do we structure that, right? How do we incorporate things like fair play into Confidant so that if somebody comes in and is looking to understand it, it would respond properly. If they're looking to introduce it to their family, it would respond properly, right? It's so fascinating and so cool, but you're exactly right. I think that's the way that it'll all be structured. There'll be like these behind the scenes like worker bots that are figuring out like how do I respond best to this.
Let's just moving aside from like the functionality and the technological side of it. And let's talk about the clients, right? The customer base, because I think what's really interesting. So I grew up with a mom who's a single mom, right? Working teacher, obviously a massive load for her to take care of these two boys and also have her job. And I feel like my awareness of that as a kid, and again, I think partially when you're a kid, you're not supposed to be too aware of this. I told my daughter the other day, I'm like, look, you didn't think about what I wanted at all today, and that's fine. Like, you're 11. It's
right.
Be selfish. But I think that my awareness is reflective of kind of society's awareness. I feel like we've really come a long way from the 80s and 90s when I was a kid to understanding what being a working mom is like. And it's not just when you're a single mom. It's also like when you have a supportive partner.
Totally.
Like there have been days where I've like patted myself on the back for my contributions as a dad, and I have like skimmed the surface of what Jess is doing that day. And I think that sometimes the men in the relationship, in a traditional family relationship, might feel like, they're being supportive, or they could be supportive and at the same time not really be aware of everything, all the variables, all the different areas where women as moms in the workforce or moms that are stay at home, just there's so much responsibility that I don't want to say naturally falls on them, but just like instinctively falls on them. It just falls on them. And it's really hard to explain that to people. And I feel like what you're doing is creating a space where there's other people who understand that and hopefully are removing like bias and judgment and shame and all these things.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought this up, because I was actually at an event last night in Boston where I heard this incredible author, Allison Daminger. She's a researcher. She researches cognitive labor.
Okay. Yeah.
And the whole discussion was all about this, and just how exactly, like, so many men, I believe, in my opinion, want to do more, want to understand more, want to take on more, but they don't get it. Like, they don't really realize all that moms are holding. And so I am so excited by the fact that people are like researching this topic. And so what we dove into last night is the different types of labor. And so what you were describing is like that instinct, right? Is like a lot of that is the mental stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, are we out of toilet paper? Do we have enough ketchup? When do we need to sign up for camp? Like all the things that are constantly rolling through a person's mind. And when it comes to the household and the family, oftentimes that falls on mom. And so Allison, in her research, she talked to a bunch of couples. She talked to heterosexual couples. She talked to same-sex couples to understand, like, what is the distribution of that cognitive labor? Why is it the way that it is? Does it differentiate between, different types of people, where they live, their economic status, all these different things.
Yeah.
And what she found was that in heterosexual couples, like the majority of the mental labor, the cognitive labor, did fall on mom. And a lot of those societal expectations were at play, right? Like a lot of times the mom, the dad and the mom would just say, oh, well, she's better at that, right?
Like naturally. I literally
gravitates towards that.
She's just so good at it, right? Like she's like the project manager and that, like she's so good. And then and Alice would be like, okay, that's interesting. Thank you. Like, so what do you do for your paid work? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, and even in situations where the men were project managers themselves or surgeons themselves, where that mental cognitive labor was critical in their paid work, they couldn't make the connection that they like could do that inside of their households too.
Yeah.
And so she pressed that, she kind of pressed and was like, but I think it's society, right? Like, it's like we've really assigned a lot of these gendered roles and responsibilities and tasks norms to women. And so to your point, I think it's having these conversations, exposing this research, exposing the new language to understand that there are all of these different types of labor. And like every task that we all accomplish has three components: the conception, the planning, and the execution. We only talk about the execution piece. Mm-hmm. There's so much that goes on in the conception and the planning piece.
I can say I am not a dad yet, but Kaylee is quite keen to have me become a dad.
But you also are interested.
I am very interested
Yes.
as well. I'm excited
I
about
can
it.
tell.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, though, Kaylee always says that she's really excited about motherhood. And I always say, that's great. And I want that for you. But for me, I don't know what that means to her. And I don't know what motherhood means. To me, it's like, oh, well, you want to have a baby and take care of a baby. And as a man, I feel naive to the fact that I don't know necessarily what's going to happen. And I'm like, oh, well, you have your own instincts.
Yes,
And we're going to figure this out. Like, I don't know what to do with the baby.
Right.
And you just will have to tell me what I need to do. And to me, I will do my best to read books and research and things like that. But I don't feel like, as a man coming into this, like I'm necessarily prepared to know what she's going to be going through in this role.
And you are the type of guy, you will research, like you will learn, like just like he was using the app last night, like he will put that time.
I'm a very curious person.
Yeah. Curiosity is very important.
But I think even you just saying that is huge.
Yes.
Right? Like that's amazing, right? I think I wish that there were more safe spaces for men to feel like they could say what you just said, right? Like, because then your energy tells me that you are like, my default is going to be to lean on her instinct, right? But you're not telling me that you're closed to that being the only solution. Like, if I were to come in and say, okay, well, what if you and your wife had a deep conversation around how she does visualize motherhood, what she does expect out of a partner in motherhood. And you really had a conversation around your values and the shared vision for what it meant during pregnancy, during trying to conceive, after giving birth. What did that mean from a paid leave standpoint? What did that mean from a distributing the labor standpoint? That's the world that is my dream world.
Communication, where people are like just talking about these things.
Talking about those things. And my journey through infertility, while it was so challenging in so many ways, I will always say it was one of the greatest gifts that my partner and I could have been given, because we got the opportunity to have all of those conversations.
Yeah.
We would make a fire out in the backyard. We'd light the solo stove. And we go out and we talk about our values and how we wanted to show up as parents, how we wanted to show up as partners, how his childhood shaped the way he thought about what being a dad meant and looked like. Same with me. We got to debate that a little bit, right? Like, and I think we would have fallen into a lot of the traditional gendered norms had we not struggled through infertility and had been given the gift to talk through that stuff.
Yeah. I could see a space. I know Confidant is for mothers and women, and I could also see a space too where I would use it coming into, my wife becoming pregnant.
Well, especially if it's like geared for that. Like if it's geared for dads.
Because I would love to have those conversations and know how to approach them so I can be a better partner myself.
Yes. Can we also... So I think what's really interesting about this idea, the dad side of the idea, is, first of all, solo stoves are awesome. I love solo stoves.
I love solo stoves too.
So good. I love that they're called a solo stove.
I know.
Like, why not? We cooked hot dogs over ours recently. It was really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely.
Anyways, I think dads don't often talk about being dads, and moms regularly talk about what it's like to be a mom. And it's really interesting watching the social dynamics. We were always told that our friends when we're parents would be other parents, right? And it's like, that's how you find friends as an adult or in this new stage of your life. When you become a parent, like, you have different friends. And what I found interesting is that was true for Jess.
Yeah.
The moms got each other's numbers and they would organize things, and Jess or I would sometimes insert me into that.
Yes.
And then I would be taken out the next time that they're organizing something. They'll include me. And then the next time the girls want to play together, like, the moms are there and they're not including me again. Yes. And I don't know or necessarily get along with the dads. Like
Yeah.
and I don't think all the moms just get along.
Yeah.
But it's like some sort of just gravitational pull to what they do. And I'm
Yes.
really curious about you brought up the author and the research she was
Yes.
doing, and you said, same-sex marriage and traditional marriages. How does the delineation of responsibility break down in a same-sex relationship? Is there any different?
Yeah, it's so I'll address that, and then I want to address the dad invitation
Sorry,
thing
I ramble.
too. No. The same-sex marriage data is really interesting because she said that there is still an unequal distribution of labor often, but the gap is much smaller. So
Yeah.
typically like 60-40. That's a big difference. Whereas in heterosexual relationships, it's often like 80-20 or more. And then also in the same-sex couples, they are aware of the differences, and they've actually had like she in her research they had talked about it, and they had said like, yeah, this is just the dynamic, this is how it is, like it feels fair. If we feel differently down the road, we'll make adjustments. Whereas for the men and women she was talking to, they were like very surprised to learn that it was so unequal. It was like, oh, wow, she actually is carrying like so much more of this than I realized. And then in the same-sex couples too, the distribution of labor was not as gendered. So it was like, because 2 men, 2 women, all the stuff has to get done, right? It wasn't like, oh, he does the trash, and right? Like there are gendered chores, there are gendered tasks. It was just, they did what they did. The distribution was more based off of like their skills or their desires, right? So those were the key differences. She did also talk about, last night we talked about this very concept that you were just describing, about how like women do have so many of these spaces to go into. And when daycare calls, right, like you have to pick your kid up, they default to mom.
Yeah.
And even when you put mom and dad on the form, they default to mom. And the research shows that it's because mom picks up, right? Like, so the care, like people have actually pressed on the daycare administrators or teachers and been like, look, they're telling you, like they're asking you to make this more equal and fair. And they're like, well, look, we don't have time for that, right? Like we've got to call the parent that's going to be the reliable one that's going to pick up.
Right.
So it's just this like conundrum. And then dads get removed from the, I don't have an answer. I think I in an ideal world, more dads will step up and create these safe spaces for other dads. We need more of that. And there will be more dad communities that men can lean on.
Yeah.
But I think it's having conversations like this. It's raising awareness to it. It's continuing to add you back in.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Please include me in the group text.
Yeah, it's not.
Do you not like me anymore?
It's not. But then last night I was thinking about it, and this is complicated, and I don't even know if we want to go there, but like sometimes it doesn't feel safe to invite a man into a space.
You have to go there.
And
it's tough to understand. Jess and I had a long conversation about that one time on one of our anniversary getaways, actually, which kind of dampened the afternoon.
Get it out now before your dinner.
But it was like, I've been in situations where if there's a store and I walk in and the only person at that store is another customer who's a woman, and you can feel the air change sometimes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because she is like concerned.
Guarded, yeah.
Right? She's guarded.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's easy to understand where that's coming from for her. It's a second derivative or next level understanding to understand how that impacts the man in that situation. And I don't want to be like, oh, poor me. I understand white guy in America, privileged, etc. But there have been places where I felt like othered or just like not safe. And I was actually at one with you. at the We Can Do Hard Things podcast
yes,
thing.
Yes.
We weren't sitting together.
Yes.
But I noticed there was somebody who spoke. They took interviews or questions from the audience, and there was a woman who shared about her experience in a same-sex marriage, raising a little boy, and how she didn't know how to do it, and like she had this relationship with men where she really distrusted men. Yeah. She just honestly, I think she said she doesn't like men. Yeah. And yet she's raising a boy.
Right.
And so it's a really hard thing to navigate, but it's a reminder that there are people who just like would look at me and say, I don't like you because you're a man.
Right.
And that's like the inverse of what we talk about a lot.
Yeah. I mean, Kaylee and I have talked about this before. I've never walked down the street and felt as if I needed to look behind me.
Right.
Ever in my life.
Right.
I have never
spent some more time in Mexico.
I haven't traveled to many third world places. But with that being said, I have never felt threatened in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate how that's just a totally different level of thinking that I've never had to address in my life.
Yep. We'll talk about, like, now we have language for it, right? That's a mental load that we as women have to carry from birth that you don't. And that's just reality.
Is it from birth, or when does it start? Like, is that the way? I don't think that's the way my daughter feels right now.
Yeah, I can't. So I actually gave a presentation recently around the first time that I ever felt like my gender limited me. And it was, I think I can recall being 7. And but I played hockey. And I played with the boys, and I couldn't be in the locker room with them until the very, very end, which, you know, appropriate, but like nobody talked to me about why. Right. Nobody like explained why I was being treated differently. And my skills were equal to them, you know, like I could keep up with them. I played just as well as them. Like, and so I didn't get it.
And then you miss out on the locker room experience.
And you just like, and I was just treated differently by the coaches and the players. And I can remember that, and that carried with me. And I wish that I had been communicated with around that more. But that's like my earliest memory of my gender, like limiting me. Wow. And so I don't know. I think it's probably different for everyone.
But, you know, we talk about, in this podcast, we've talked about systemic issues with either just the financial industry or the economy or the society, et cetera. You know, you're talking about some that, like, the school is a perfect example. We don't have time to think about fair play and, like, you know, what to do here. And so there's, like, these systemic limitations, and you can't tear it all down. No. It's just, you can't. So how do you solve it? I think the only thing you can do is what you've already said. It's communicate, right? Yep. Just make sure you communicate and create awareness and spread awareness and create opportunity for awareness and communication over and over and over again.
Yeah. Can you also speak through what fair play is?
Yeah.
Yes.
We got to talk about the fair play thing.
I'll talk about that. Let me just add to this. I really do think that AI can play a role in this.
Okay. Yeah.
So that is why we are leaning into AI, because I think if built right, it can help us better understand ourselves, right? Like if you learn something, like say, for example, one of your listeners is like, oh, this cognitive labor thing, like, what is this? You know, I heard it on this podcast. I'm going to go do some research, and they can lean on AI to learn more about the cognitive load. Then they could reflect with AI. It's like a thought partner to be like, okay, how much of the cognitive load am I carrying? How much is my partner carrying? And use it as like a reflection tool or a thought partner to explore these things. I really see it helping us to then better understand so that we're better equipped to go and connect with other people. One of the things people are asking for inside of Confidant are scripts. That's like the number one thing that is requested.
I could see that being huge.
How do I go have this conversation, this tough conversation with my boss?
Okay.
How do I go have this tough, help me? They like prompt out what the ideal outcome is.
Yeah.
Now, how do I
Yep.
go communicate that to the person that I want to get this ideal outcome from?
Mm-hmm.
And so I see that as like beautiful, actually, because it's deepening our human connection versus how I feel technology has torn us apart from each other in the past, but only if it's built in this like human centric way.
Well, you're the second person to sit in that seat and say that. Andre
It
said
is.
the
Andre
same
said the
thing.
same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she, she utilizes AI for like a pause to like just say, hey, I need to think and reflect and think about how I want to approach these things. And then it leads to a deeper conversation.
Yes.
I think it's really interesting that perspective has been presented to us twice. And I'm like often on the other side of this thinking about how AI is going to impact financially a lot of people, right? So
it's productivity, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's a productivity tool. And it is. And that's great, but it can also be a human reflection tool, I think, a learning tool, a thought partner. And that's where it, like, because there are studies around how it's kind of eroding the brain and not actually helping us be more productive, right? Like it's
everything's bad for you.
And so if you pair it though with thought leadership, then it actually strengthens the brain activity.
I mean, I was just going to say, we have constant conversations about screen time in our house and just like getting off the phones, going for a walk, spending time together, playing a board game, whatever it is. And I think a lot of people are fearful of the fact that technology could have personality.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are afraid of that. However, with that being said, depending on the personality and it being a thought leader, that could be incredibly useful and incredibly helpful as well. Yeah. I know if I had someone or a technology in my pocket 24/7 that could help me get through a lot of mental loads and stress, whether it's in our business or job, relationships, like that would be a huge win.
Yeah.
You know, versus just Googling stuff.
Totally. So I use the voice memo feature in ChatGPT all the time. Every dog walk.
Oh, yeah.
I'm downloading my thoughts, my like what I visions for the company, like how do I think about this? And then it prompts you to like answer another question and go deeper. It really is. It can be a real helpful like thought partner.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. That's the best case for it, I think.
Yeah.
Is the thought partner aspect.
Absolutely. And think about the level of advice that you could potentially receive, because if you're the best in your field and not everybody has the time to access you all the time,
right?
Being able to access that all the time. And if you don't have the financial resources to be able to do that, now you do.
There are CEOs. There's a whole business. I'm forgetting the name of it that is cloning CEOs essentially to share their expertise and knowledge. And they're paying big bucks to have these companies do this. But then they're giving their employees access to their GPT.
We know one of those companies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's wild. But did you want me to go into fair play really quick?
Yeah, let's go into fair play. Yeah.
So it started as a book. It's a New York Times best-selling book by Eve Rodsky is the author. And it really blew up because Reese Witherspoon put it on her book club
Love
picks.
her.
Yeah, she's awesome. And the book is written from a female perspective. So it's all around Eve's experience after having her second child and realizing the unequal distribution of unpaid labor inside of her and childcare responsibilities inside of her home. And then seeing that it wasn't just playing out in her life, but also playing out in the lives of like pretty much everyone that she knew, even though they were dual career, dual income family. And so she's like, how do I do that? Like, we all go to work in these spaces where there are very clearly defined roles, responsibilities, and expectations. And yet in our households, none of that exists, right? Like it's just a free-for-all. And I can remember like our early conversations, my husband and I, right, around like when I started pressing for us to have some of these convos before having a child, he was like, but we're so good. Like, we'll just figure it out. And I'm like, yes, I wish we lived in a world where we didn't have so many of these societal expectations and pressures and we could just figure it out and we would be okay and we wouldn't fall into some of these norms. But like the reality is like we will, even the best intentioned will. And so the book actually is a method and a system to more fairly divide household chores and tasks and not equally, right? It's like, it's not called equal play. It's called fair play because you define what fair looks like for you. So it takes 100 of the most common tasks and divides them into these cards. It's a card deck. And then you distribute the card deck.
We have these cards from, I think it was the HER conference.
Yes, It can feel overwhelming. And so as a facilitator, oftentimes my advice to people who are just exploring it, one is to first watch the documentary. I think it's on Hulu and Apple. That's the best introduction, I think, because it follows 4 different couples, pre-fair play and post-fair play, and how the energy shifts inside of their family. And then I say, like, pick one card, right? Like, just if there's a really unfair distribution of labor inside of your home, just start with one and see how it goes. And essentially the method says what I touched on earlier is that every task that we accomplish has those 3 components. And so if you are a fair play family, if you own trash, let's say, for example, you own every component of trash. So you are remembering trash day, you are remembering to buy trash bags, you are remembering the conception, the planning, and the execution of it all, so that your partner can truly be freed of that task.
Can we talk about trash real quick?
Yes.
This is important.
Kaylee just took over trash in our household.
Did she?
She did.
Okay. Why did Kaylee take over the trash?
She's up much earlier than I am, typically, and she doesn't want to make the bed anymore. So
you have the bed.
So I took bed. Yeah.
So I typically take out the trash, I think this is where the fair play stuff comes in. So I mostly, not entirely, but the majority of it, I take on that ownership. But I have different thresholds for when the trash needs to be taken out. Right?
Like 5 minutes before it shows up.
No, it's not just like taking the trash out to the curb. It's like taking the trash from the kitchen to the trash bin before it goes. And
then there's all the little trash bags around the house.
And all the trash bags around the house. Right.
Yeah.
And so, the other day, Jess was away for the weekend and I was like, well, I'm going to make the house nice and clean for when she comes home. And I went around to all the little trash things and I emptied it out. I'm like, oh, that's what this is. But when Jess comes home and she like opens the trash, she'll have an opinion on whether the trash should go out. And it might be different from mine.
Yep.
But it's like, it's on me to do it, or she will just like take it out and like, then I have to do it. So there's communication.
Yes.
But when you have partners, whether you're married or not, like you have partners, they have different feelings about how things should be done. So
1,000%.
Is it that whoever cares the most should take on that responsibility? How do you navigate that?
So I love this. So one of the key pieces, of course, this came up in the research and the data as she was building this method. She has addressed it as establishing a minimum standard of care.
Okay.
And so every task, so part of the solo stove conversations that Nick and I had were establishing the minimum standard of care for each one of the tasks. And if somebody in the partnership feels very, very strongly about a minimum standard of care and the other person can't get behind it, there's kind of 2 options. One, you talk it out until you can get to an agreement around it. The other is that they just own it. So if somebody is like, look, like I can't give up control of it being this way, then they would own the full CPE, conception, planning, and execution of that task.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how it, but that's what comes up all the time. And that's where the default, I'm not trying to throw men under the bus or anything here, but that is where like women end up being like, well, he just can't meet the way that I need this to be done, so I'll just do it.
And and it's
for sure. Or
parenthood
I don't do it as good as my wife does,
Yep.
so she'll just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Instead of having
better at this.
She's better at this than me.
right,
Yeah. I'm not good at doing dishes.
And I think
Yeah,
there's
right.
No, I'm great at doing dishes. I like doing dishes.
In our interpersonal office dynamic, he's the dishes guy.
I just did the dishes before you came in this morning, actually.
But it's like there's so much there. It's so loaded.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the other thing with fair play. Like oftentimes as a facilitator, right? Like you have people coming to you wanting fair play to solve their marriage problems. And
right.
oftentimes, like, actually, it's just going to expose that there's deeper problems that need to be addressed before this would even be helpful. And so many of the fair play certified facilitators are therapists, couples therapists. So you would do a lot of work with them before you even thought about implementing fair play.
Yeah.
In our lives and careers, we always talk about setting goals and expectations with our clients and setting up the financial planning process. What I find useful about fair play is it's really going to help you identify what your goals are.
Totally.
Because, I mean, the classic saying, if you don't have a plan to fail.
Right.
And without setting that up and setting up a framework, you're inevitably going to be creating conflict.
Yeah. And we realized, too, we were doing a lot of tasks that, like, we didn't need to be doing.
Yeah.
So, like, when you spread it out, we're like, oh, you don't even need to be doing this stuff, right? Like, we can throw this card out.
Right.
You know? So it also kind of exposes some of the, again, probably societal pressures or like things that your family did that you don't necessarily align with that you can just set free a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Do you have any final parting thoughts? Anything that you want to share with us?
Oh, I just loved being able to chat through some of this stuff and to weave it all, right? It's all weaved. It's just being human.
It's life.
Yeah.
It's life,
Yeah.
right? It's like all of our worlds are so interconnected.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing that gives me hope with technology is if we can build technology in a way that acknowledges that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be so powerful.
Yeah. What I found incredibly refreshing was the fact that you're building a tech and AI company that's focused on helping people as opposed to just churning profits.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which is very nice.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. I think that we can all stand from better communication and increased awareness. Actually, I think that's the biggest thing we do with this podcast is we just try to have conversations and increase awareness and increase communication. And that's what we did today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Tara. You're a boss.
Thank you. Thank you.
That wraps up this episode of the Compound Growth Podcast. A big thank you to Tara Ryan for joining us and sharing her insights on AI, and more specifically, Confidant, an incredible platform designed to support mothers through thoughtful, human-centered technology. This conversation was a great reminder that while AI continues to evolve, finding tools with purpose, not just general capabilities, can make all the difference. And hearing Tara speak about maintaining integrity in a male-dominated industry while keeping women's safety and trust at the forefront was both inspiring and eye-opening. It was a great discussion on the future of AI, the balance between innovation and ethics, and what it means to create space for women in tech. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Compound Growth.
Compound Growth with Wheeler and Colin. Sponsored by Ko-Fi Advisors. Reach out today. Yay!